Hello, something guys and gals. This is Something Guy 912. Believe it or not, the title to this video is about as straightforward as it gets. Although, how I'm going to attack it is more complex than you think. So you have already come through some of my videos. I have realized that the left and the right are just as demonstrable in terms of how they conduct their opponents in political discussion. The left vying for easy name-calling and hyperventilating problems out of thin air just as often as the right did. Only that the left are doing it because they are the establishment and are losing the plight of the common people as a result of the way they went about curbing the dissenters. Trump's victory, while out of nowhere for me, should have come as no surprise to me, considering that people were just simply voting for Trump just to spite the regressive left, like I did when I got my ballot. Speaking of getting an envelope to choose between a turd sandwich and a douche, I got an envelope from no other than the Democratic National Committee, the same committee that handpicked Clinton to be the winner of the primary elections, because fuck principles, she's a woman. Why would they send an envelope to someone who initially voted for Bernie in the primaries, you might ask? Well, look no further than the other tactic that the Democrats use to try to defeat their dissenters, doubling down. Much like my video on said double downers on Donald Trump, this letter/survey isn't meant to tell me how absolutely out of touch the DNC are with the common people. No, this is just another demonstration of trying to discredit Trump for no other reason than that he isn't the establishment's choice. Since they couldn't do it based on their own merits, they had to send these letters out to make me feel sorry for the establishment playing political pendulums on the masses instead of humbling themselves and not participating in this fucking game of ideologue dodgeball. So enough with the exposition, let's get to the meat of the things. I'll read through the letter, a la superficial scribblings on sexism, and go through the survey itself, analyzing my choices and perhaps the way that the DNC phrases each survey question itself. Let's get into this. As we watch Donald Trump's administration and the Republican Congress begin dismantling all of our democratic accomplishments, we are reminded of the hard road we have ahead. When you solve everything with a hammer, the whole world looks like a nail. I find it funny that they phrase it this way. I imagine the Republicans felt that all of their accomplishments were being dismantled by the Democrats when Obama went into office in 2008. But oh, I should feel sorry for you, the good, hard-working Democrats who called half of your U.S. population deplorable for thinking differently. Now more than ever, we must stand up to protect our democratic values and keep fighting for the issues and principles we believe in. What principles and issues would that be? I know that will clarify itself in the survey, but at least specify in some way instead of waxing generalities. Also, why is that sentence underlined? We owe it to ourselves, our nation, and our fellow Americans to never give up. He will not divide us! It won't be easy, but together, with hard work and commitment, we will succeed. We can do this. Believe me, I know what we're up against. We've done it before. I love how editorialized this particular paragraph is. Like, as if this person is talking to me. Like, it's not like this was mass sent to every person who even vaguely identifies as Democrat and just changed the name where applicable on each letter or something. As you'll remember, Democrats battled back in 1992 when, after 12 years of Ronald Reagan and George H.W. Bush, we won back the White House. We retook the Senate in 2000. We took back the House of Representatives in 2006, and after 8 painful years of George W. Bush, Democrats won back the presidency in 2008. We know what we need to do, and we know we are going to need the involvement of every single compassionate person like you. I know that sounded like a huge number of things to tackle, but basically, it was the prior point that I made earlier. Every Republican achievement is seen as regressive backpedaling to Democrats, and every Democratic achievement is seen as regressive to the Republicans the same. Not to say that Republicans would make this kind of plea where Democrats had power in key areas, it just goes to show that when you see the opposition as your enemy, out to destroy every foundation you hold dear, your opposition will see you as the same. And the masses continue to be hypnotized by the pleasure of the pendulum moving on each potential curve. Lance, this is why I'm reaching out to you today. This is a critical time for the Democratic Party, and we need to hear from you right away. As someone who has demonstrated that you care about your neighbors, your community, and the future of our planet, you have been selected to participate in the attached official 2017 Democratic Party survey. Damn, this will save the fucking world if I take this survey. This will amount to the ending of apocalypse if I don't send this biased, standardized survey by the 31st of March. I know by the time I release this video, it'll be long past April. And look, we are still alive despite Trump's tyrannical dictatorship. Oh, wait, that didn't happen as Democrats predicted. I'm asking you to take just 5 minutes while this survey is right in front of you to answer the questions as candidly, completely, and properly as possible and return this survey to the DNC by March 31st. Hey, DNC, while I am sending this survey to you, what happened to my ballot poll for Bernie, eh? Did you, I don't know, throw it away because I didn't vote for the candidate you have already decided was the winner? And I have a doubt that you want me to be candid about my responses, especially considering the way that the survey represents the questions, and yes, we will go into that soon. We need your engagement in joining and building the Democratic Party before the 2017 elections. Yes, there are dozens of races for governors, mayors, and state legislators this year, and especially for the 2018 midterm elections, to move our country forward again. Yeah, I'm not going to swear allegiance to a party that has systematically shot itself in the foot multiple times until it is lurching forward, having to make the piece of shit it was fighting against worse by comparison. Not that I'm saying that I'd vote Republican, because I also don't sympathize with their beliefs or agree with most of their policies. It's just that the way that the Republicans have conducted themselves closer to reality as of right now compared to Democrats makes me more sympathetic to them. Lance, please help the DNC move our nation forward by completing your survey and becoming a proud member of the Democratic National Committee with your contribution of 18, 25, 35, or more today. Ah, yes! None of my physical or mental participation in the Democratic fronts, none of my opinions on this piece of shit survey matter unless I cough up the dough. I wonder if that money will be used to rig the people's votes to suit their narrative. Oh, I'm sure the poor people of Wall Street need a fucking handout. Your responses will help shape our strategies, define our messages, allocate resources to defeat Republican extremism. Okay, why the fuck are there so many ellipses in this sentence, in this paragraph alone? Anyhow, what Republican extremism? Who defines what Republican extremism is? If you lean so far left, you might in fact see anyone who even politely disagrees with you as an extreme Republican, considering the wave of leftists calling everyone Nazis because they are so far left to be soft communists that they see everyone else as the opposite of their extreme. Register new voters and overturn voter suppression tactics. What voters are being suppressed? Would it be illegal citizens by chance who don't have U.S. rights to vote? Enact policies that bring relief to struggling Americans. Retool our efforts at the grassroots level. This is all well and good, but you won't even get one step into those issues until you drain the swamp, per se, of your out-of-touch regressives and humble yourself for once in your life. That way, people will actually take you seriously. Recruit and train progressive candidates, revitalize communities with new manufacturing, close corporate tax loopholes, hold Republicans accountable for their actions, and improve the lives of all Americans. But Democrats need not be held to the same standard as Republicans are. We are pure and morally superior against those filthy Nazi white supremacists. We never do anything wrong, and we are the establishment because we never do anything wrong, right? Your feedback, along with your commitment to support Democrats, will propel the DNC to advance a progressive agenda and build our base across all 50 states for the 2017 and 2018 elections. The way that the DNC and the Democratic Party have been acting, I'm almost certain the Republicans will simply win more seats as a result of just not shitting the bed. Basically, Trump almost won by the fact that the media had lied so much and held favor to Clinton out of ideology that nothing, literally nothing about Trump that the media would say, whether true or false, would stump the Kyrgyzstanis from having their God Emperor on the throne of the United States. It is so critical we hear from you on what domestic and international policies are most important to you and your family to help us continue to shape the Democratic Party agenda. It's only critical if that shape is in the form of a $25 mason brick to the foundation, though. Reminder, you need money to fund this after all. Your answers and insights and your financial support will enable the DNC to hit the ground running when the new chair of the Democratic National Committee joins us and we continue the job of electing strong Democrats at every level in all 50 states. Well, first off, the strong Democrats you have are Tim Kaine and Hillary Clinton, both completely bought shills that will say whatever is currently popular right now. And secondly, you can only hit the ground running when you broke the pitcher's leg by throwing the bat at them, you fucking cheating hacks. You see, the responsibility of the Democratic National Committee is to manage all the resources at our disposal and to elect Democrats across the country, up and down the ballot. I'm just totally bought in by this horseshit. I certainly hope my $35 will contribute to DNC members from the Veritas Project intentionally starting shit shows to their opposition so they can paint the opposition as awful, because if not, I think you'd have some principles some time ago. We learned some hard lessons from November and cannot waste a minute in preparing for this year. Damage Control Incorporated, where nothing is our fault and when something bad happens in our wake, we learn nothing from it. With your help, we can win back the Senate majority in 2018 and get our nation moving forward in a way that will help you and other Americans feel proud again. Make America proud again? I don't think that rings as well as MAGA does. And why should I, when you betrayed my trust and spat on me for voting in spite of your shitty candidate? Why should I be obliged to give you support when you demonstrate that you don't care about the common people like you used to? Like as if I'm going to be fooled again. That's why I'm inviting you to become a member of the Democratic National Committee and to fight back with us to elect Democrats, nationally, statewide, and locally. One world, one government, one party, the New World Order. Specifically, your support will enable the DNC to, 1. Support Democratic state parties and candidates, because only through loyalty, blind loyalty, mind you, shall we prevail as a hive mind in thought and ideas. By providing the essential assistance that state parties need to strengthen their infrastructure and provide down-ballot Democrats with grassroots support they need to win. So basically, we need more money pumped into stupid areas rather than putting that money into the right areas to win. 2. Expand access to the ballot box through DNC, voter registration, and educational tools such as iwillvote.com and the Voter Expansion Project, and by ensuring that every eligible voter can register, every registered voter can vote, and every vote is counted. Don't you find it funny that the DNC of all people are so concerned about counting votes, when not only will they manufacture votes through dead people and illegal citizens, but also discount votes to suit their own ends? As for expanding the voting numbers, you first need to get people excited to vote, and secondly, I think a certain amount of intelligence is required in order to vote, not just by age. If you can't even demonstrate the balance of powers in our legislation, much like how Marina couldn't in her video, I don't think you should have the right to vote for someone who has 1/3 of said power. 3. Build our Get Out the Vote operation by investing now to build upon our infrastructure to help mobilize and get Democratic voters to their polling places on Election Day, one of the areas where we were less successful in 2016 than we were in the 2018, 2008, and 2012 presidential elections. Because that's the reason why you lost the vote, right? Not because you attacked silly memes, not because you lied through your teeth by omission, not that you spat in people's faces for daring to vote for someone different. Nope, it's just that Democrats simply didn't know where to vote. Isn't that a bit patronizing of you to say that Democrats are so feeble-minded that them not going to the ballots was the only cause of your defeat? 4. Register new voters by knocking on doors across the country, particularly in communities of color and in rural America, and putting grassroots organizers on the ground to register even more new voters than the 3 million we registered in 2016. God, most of these accomplishments are all relatively the same, and maybe, just maybe, did you happen to put upon the question that people simply don't identify with the Democratic Party, thereby explaining why you only have 3 million registered Democratic voters? Nah, fuck that. Let's spread the good word of the Democratic Bible to my homies down in Detroit, one of the key cities that Democrats lost to Trump, ironically enough. Stand up to Republican attacks by swiftly calling out the unprecedented amount of lying at the top levels of our government and holding them accountable for their efforts to roll back the progress our country has made. As James Maynard Keenan would put it, who are you to wave your finger? You have an unprecedented amount of lying at your top levels of government, denying evidence that you fucked the primaries in Hillary's and Trump's favor, and people are holding you accountable for the amounts of progress you are holding back, like people calling for segregation again because fuck merits, colored people, is that too politically incorrect for me to say, are just inherently better by default of their race. Winning in 2017 and 2018 depends on Democratic leaders like you who are never giving up, always fighting back, and taking actions today that will help build the Democratic Party for tomorrow. Nah, that sounds lame. I want to see the Democratic Party burn to ash and then arise as something better than its former self. The last two paragraphs are just another reminder to complete the survey and return it to the DNC, where I'm sure they will take great pains to read my standardized test of milquetoast answers. No, they are vying for my sweet dollar bills. Because like politicians, opinions are bought, not made. So without further ado, let's finally get into the survey they mentioned. Question 1, or section 2 in this, as the first section is asking for personal information that I'm obviously not going to fill out, which domestic issues are most important to you? The following list reads, a growing economy with good paying jobs, affordable health care and lower prescription drug costs, women's reproductive rights and protecting Roe v. Wade. And while I don't like to interrupt as I'm reading out this list, this one in particular is absolute horseshit paranoia. Unless Trump enacts a new amendment reversing Roe v. Wade, once again, good luck, bucko, he can't just reverse those rights on a dime. And by the way, the right to spare a human life rather than kill it is also a woman's right, because women actually do believe in pro-life over pro-choice. Marriage equality and expanding LGBT civil rights, we have gone to that level already. You are just wanting special treatment for LGBT people. Also, what about the QA plus people, you fucking bigot? Protecting Social Security and Medicare from privatization, criminal justice reform, and ending the private prisons. Yes, get on that. I mean, men don't have the same custody rights as women do in the criminal justice court, if I'm to believe that these feminists are for equality. Protecting environmental safeguards and regulations, good intentions, but only so many people can do so much. Free college tuition and reduced student debt. I'll be for this if they get rid of the bullshit classes like critical race theory or gender studies, and enacting laws and regulations to reduce gun violence. I think for my sake of just choosing one out of all of those, the first one is perhaps the best choice out of all because it will systematically end most of the other problems below it. Question 2 reads, which international issues are most important to you? The list goes, policies to reduce climate change and global warming. I mean, come on guys, glaciers are sexist after all. Defeating ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and other terrorist organizations. Hey, Islam is a religion of peace, you white-complexioned European bigots. Middle East policy, this is just vague as all hell. The nuclear threats from North Korea and Iran. Russia's interventions and influence, all more modern-day McCarthyism when the Russians were doing our job for us and that you only care about this because they showed how morally bankrupt you really are. Reforming federal immigration laws and regulations, all of which I'm sure will totally stop corporations from hiring illegal immigrants to do the hard work for a pittance. Commitments to NATO and European allies, support for democratic governments worldwide, even for the democratic governments that take advantage of us at every turn, like with Saudi Arabia or Japan, for instance, instead of fostering them to be self-sustainable economies. Diplomatic and economic relations with Cuba. Really? Are we still on about this? Isn't this been done and passed already? All joking aside, I think dealing with ISIS and terrorist organizations will inevitably help, as their backwards-ass theology will bring forth the patriarchy that every Western feminist has waking nightmares about come to fruition. But I highly doubt that the DNC are going to do a damn's worth of it if they are selective in what terrorists are going to fight against. Anyway, moving on to Section 3, the Republican agenda. Like as if the Democrats don't have some kind of agenda, starting with this stupid survey, or somehow Republican is synonymous with bad. 1. Hearing President Trump's goal for his first 100 days in office and seeing some of his early cabinet appointments, which policies do you find most troubling? You know, somehow, I have a feeling that the results on this list are going to be biased. It might be because they have first demonstrate that his policies are troubling in the first place, or the presumption that there isn't anything of Trump's policies that I can take away from that could be good. I don't know, just a hunch. The repeal and replacement of the Affordable Care Act, redundant, as Trump and Paul Ryan pulled for messing with that. Good job, by the way, of making a hysterical act over that too, liberals. The cancellation of every executive action, order, and memorandum by President Obama, also redundant because Trump didn't cancel Obamacare or the Patriot Act for one. The removal of more than 3 million immigrants from our country. Yeah, you forgot to add illegal to it because you want to paint this like he's kicking out German and Irish immigrants out too, you fearmongers. The suspension of new immigrants, illegal immigrants, from terror-prone regions like Syria, Iran, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia. Shouldn't this be a good thing for them for the sanctity of their livelihood? Or is that racist too somehow? The nomination of a Supreme Court justice to replace Antonin Scalia. Well, maybe Obama should have chosen a Supreme Court justice instead of tiptoeing around the problem like he did everything else. The requirement that for every new regulation, 2 existing regulations must be eliminated. I'm sure this is supposed to keep regulations from contradicting with one another, but also find doubtful Trump could even enact. The lifting of roadblocks to allow projects like Dakota Access and Keystone Pipelines to move forward. Well, they're going to be made eventually. You're just trying to delay the inevitable and try to gaslight this as yet another act of the white man tearing down the Indian, whoops, politically incorrect, Native Americans. The renegotiation of or withdrawal from NAFTA and other trade treaties. What? Don't you fuckers hate NAFTA and these trade deals? Now you love it because Trump hates it? You seriously are just hating him on principle now. Dismantling the social safety net and eliminating Medicare as we know it. Redundant, already been through this, but he hasn't even done it yet, so to say he will is more fear-mongering. The dismantling of the Environmental Protection Agency and Clean Energy Solutions. Okay, you finally have something that he may succeed in doing, is something I am concerned with. The last on this list is I am not troubled by the policies President Trump is making, and I wonder how many Democrats put down in their survey just to piss off the DNC for laws, huh? Well, I certainly didn't, because the EPA is something that I would be concerned about being thrown away, as the head of it wants it eradicated, basically. Question 2 reads, which aspects of the Trump presidency do you find most disturbing? Again, just trying to funnel the answer they want out of me, and will not rest with anything but everything wrong about Trump, or this survey be tossed to the throes of memory. The list goes, his erratic temperament and judgment, probably one key aspect of his victory, his initial nominations and cabinet appointments, his reckless foreign policy decisions. Yeah, like as if Hillary totally wasn't saber-rattling with Russia, like as if it was the Cold War all over again. His admiration of Russian President Vladimir Putin. And look, I'm not a fan of the guy, but honestly, what do we gain out of fighting Russia? Blood spill and nothing to fucking show for it but some 17 million kilometers of snowy plains and caribou. I'd rather we warm up to Russia as well as China for a while now. His disregard of the U.S. Constitution. Yeah, once again, look in the mirror, assholes. You're the ones who are trying to make the argument that people's free speech should be limited because of hate speech. His dangerous and hateful rhetoric. Ad nauseum generalities taken from a fucking 2005 interview because that's literally the only dirt you have on him. His views about nuclear proliferation, his verbal and physical assaults on women. Oh no! Not the women! Why, they are so frail and fragile. They certainly can't hold themselves by their own merits. We need a white knight for them in every fucking turn in the most patronizing manner possible. Also, no claim of physical assault from Trump has ever gone past a court hearing because it's false. His views on women's reproductive freedom, the same freedom that other women vote against, mind you, so reproductive freedom is subjective to the person saying it. His dismissal of climate change and global warming, redacted soon after he made the claim that China was creating false climate change warnings. His refusal to release his tax returns, and I don't recall you fucker holding Hillary's feet to the fire about her clearly deleting private emails that defile her credibility, if she even had them to begin with. The hypocrite eats hay while calling you all horses. As with the last question, the last line on the list is, I don't find the Trump presidency disturbing. And I don't really either. At least there is some amount of optimism behind it compared to a Clinton presidency. But if I had to really choose any, I'd probably be nuclear proliferation, as we don't really know if these nuclear arms are going to be used for renewable energy or otherwise. Section 4, the Democratic Agenda. Whoa, what is this? The DNC having a bit of self-awareness? This is certainly unheard of. Let's see how tough they truly challenge their own belief system. The question goes, with the Democratic Party as the minority party in Congress, which legislative goals do you believe should be our highest priorities? Of course, I'm not surprised they have to paint themselves as the poor, innocent minority in this scenario in order to give the Republicans some kind of imposing entity to this. The list goes: protecting affordable health care, protecting women's reproductive rights. Again, not all women hold the same belief that having the right to choose is a reproductive right. Blocking appointments of right-wing Supreme Court justices, because of course we have to maintain liberal left-wing purity in our Supreme Court system. Interpret the law as it's written? Fuck that shit. You interpret it with our left-leaning lens. Protecting civil rights for LGBT Americans. Trans bathrooms galore. We need to make some trans fountains and trans schools where trans people can have class separate from the cisgender people. And they can do it right in Birmingham too. Protecting Social Security and Medicare. Enacting paid family and sick leave. Just another example of the wage gap, of course. Protecting the Environmental Protection Agency, ensuring equal pay for equal work, force women into jobs for the sake of making all work one-to-one. Does this sound socialist to you? Of course not. It's just the true feminist American dream. Also, fuck equality of opportunity. Protecting the Paris Accord on climate change. No idea what that is. Reforming campaign finance laws and regulations. Protecting policies that rebuilt the economy after a Great Recession. Did they? I would say it's been a very slow incline back up, frankly. Ensuring a fair tax code that does not put the burden on those most vulnerable. How nebulous a statement, because I'm sure you are most certainly concerned with the homeless, as long as they aren't white, or men, or cis for one. Surprisingly enough, there were quite a few choices that I could make on this list. As the question so far, I've insisted that I choose more, so I guess I'll go with protecting the EPA, as I stated before, affordable health care, and fuck it, that Paris Accord or whatever, since climate change is occurring. Question 2 goes, as Democrats prepare long-term strategies for the 2018 midterm elections, what electoral issues and messages do you believe should be our highest priorities? This almost sounds like the same question, just instead of legislative, it's electoral now. But instead of a please choose from the list question, this time I have to rate the importance of each priority. How lovely. Building an economy that works for everyone, not just those at the very top. Fair enough, I give that an 8, though I doubt the DNC cares. Making America the clean energy superpower of the 21st century. Not sure how we being the superpower will help, but being clean energy efficient will help. A 9 for you. Investing in American manufacturing to revitalize hard-hit communities, just as important as the first one. An 8. Cutting taxes for the middle class, not just the top 2% of Americans, and not so much. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer. The middle class isn't the one who needs to compromise here. A 6. Making investments in America's infrastructure, highways, bridges, schools, can't disagree. A 7. Increasing the federal minimum wage to $15 per hour. I'm a bit indifferent to this, even as I think it will inevitably happen. A 5 for now. Enacting laws that keep weapons of war off our streets. Weapons of war? Are people walking around with Tomahawk missiles or something? A 3 for it's exaggerating the problem. Closing tax loopholes for U.S. corporations. If you also count the loopholes that allow them to hire illegal immigrants. A 4. Breaking up the banks and Wall Street greed. If we also make those accountable for the defenestration of those big banks, like the DNC here, but nevertheless, a 7. I'm kind of surprised that they didn't hit me with really contentious issues, but at the same time, I doubt that the DNC really care about me as much as they like to, especially if they knew that I voted against them in the general. Section 5 reads, Priorities of the Democratic Party, which is almost basically the same as the 2 questions before, so it's even more redundant than it was prior, but nevertheless, let's keep going. Question 1 goes, please rank the following elements of the DNC's election strategy in order of importance to you. So again, 1 to 10, or 11 in this case, but now I have to order them now. I think for the sake of the length of this video, I'm not going to do that. The list reads, electing more Democrats in statewide and municipal offices in 2017, winning back control of the Congress in 2018, winning back the White House in 2020, improving voter turnout analysis and performance. Apparently that doesn't matter because you get cheated out of the election, giving more support to state parties to help Democrats at the grassroots level, giving voters better reasons to show up at the polls on election day, organizing Latino, African American, and other communities of colors, even if they may disagree with us, but of course they support us, always. Protecting the right to vote and expanding access to the ballot box. Nah, fuck that. Let's keep white people out of the franchise for about another 20 years or so. It's not too bad. We're just taking the right to vote. investing in technology to preserve our edge over the Republicans, the Brotherhood of Steel Democrats trying to hoard all technology for themselves, holding Republican candidates accountable for their words and actions. Again, we don't have to be accountable for our words and actions because we are infallible by principle of being Democrat. Reaching out to voters and Democrats that did not vote Democratic in 2016, yeah, those Republicans that we are going to hold their feet to the fire at every word and action they make, we need their votes. I wager that better voter turnout and better reasons to show up at polls will inevitably help everyone in this scenario, not just the Democratic Party specifically. The second question reads, as you reflect on the November election, I still get giddy about the reactions. Which of the following activities do you believe the DNC should prioritize in the next 2 years? And the list goes, identifying and recruiting stronger Democratic candidates. Holy shit, yes, please, for the love of God, stop shoving Clinton's corpse in front of us as a good candidate. But then again, your idea of a better candidate is the one who's more convincing of bullshit. Investing in better research and more accurate polling capabilities. How best can we make sure to have dead voters vote for us without people finding out? Increasing voter registration efforts, growing our financial base of support, maintaining our volunteer strength in urban and suburban areas, increasing our volunteer efforts in rural areas, improving our get out the vote efforts on election day. I'm noticing a lot of emphasis on getting the votes in any way they can, but not to convince people that the Democratic Party is the best party in comparison to their ideological opposite. Makes me think that they're convinced that voter turnout is ultimately their downfall and not how they conduct themselves to their voters. Focusing on messages that better connect with more Americans, lowest common denominator policies and messages, rather than showing that we believe in the shit we are selling to you. Just buy our ideology, please! And I guess that final list now is the most important, even if I'm not convinced that the Democrats will follow in it. And the last section in the lower half of the page are nothing more than asking where I get my political views from, and judging from me putting this video on YouTube, you know where I get them from. As well as a continued desire for me to give the money to their DNC contribution, because again, my views only carry weight if they have a Benjamin wedge between them. So that was it with this stupid survey. Repetitive survey questions, obviously misleading jabs of Republican parties for the sake of making theirs better, and of course, emotional manipulation. They want me to return this letter with $18 to $35 in tow, with answers so standardized that it doesn't really say anything about how I came to these beliefs in the first place, so they can beef up their bullshittery for the 2020 elections. And frankly, I'm fucking done playing this political pendulum game. I'm done with it on the Republican side too, and I feel frustrated that we continue being unaware of our hypocrisy and how ideological we have become in the wake of things lately. So to commemorate my hatefulness of this pendulum, I will burn this letter and the survey following it.
What's up, YouTube? This is Lance, and yes, I am aware that this is in portrait mode, but I have to keep it in portrait mode so I can put these fucking DNC papers in this pot here and fucking burn it. Because, symbolically speaking, I'm fucking done with this whole pendulum shift going on, this ideological pendulum that has gone on with the left and the right. I'm not gonna fucking participate in it anymore. So, to commemorate this, kind of hard to light on fire for a piece of paper, I'm gonna burn it. Kind of smells right now. It's in the middle of the morning. I want to get a good shot of the thing as it's burning. Let it burn. As I said in the video, I want the Democratic Party to burn and come from the ashes anew. I don't know how well this phone is capturing my voice. Hopefully pretty well. I was hoping this would be a little bit more epic than this. Ah, shit. Fuck. God. Hell. Oh, right in my fucking... I'm gonna turn around real quick. Because it's getting right in my eyes. Smells like a normal fucking campfire. Except it's symbolic. Oh shit. I just realized this thing has actually showing my, my fucking, address when I do it forward facing. Guess I'm just gonna have to go back front facing again. This thing's a lot harder to earn than I expected. Oh, God. I'm also kind of sick too still. That's why it's been so fucking hard for me to upload this video. It's fucking May right now. Once I get this done, I'm gonna edit the last parts of the video right now. For the young people at home watching. I was hoping it would like just blow up, but this paper is surprisingly not that flammable. I guess I'm not really that popular right now for people to start digging address info on me for the fucking laws, or if some fucking crazy loony feminist or SJW decides they need to find my personal information, I'd say let them come, because I'm not the only one living in this fucking place. I say let them come. Shit, I really hope I'm not gonna get fucking kicked out of the apartment because of this. It's not a fucking crazy fire, really. There we go. Now it's really fucking burning. Yeah. Look at that. Whew. Yeah. There it goes. There we go. That's actually catching some nice embers there. Yeah. I don't know how, like I said, I don't know how well this fucking phone's catching the volume of my voice, so it'll be probably really quiet. I'm probably gonna have to increase the volume post-process. Oh god, the smoke's hitting my eyes again. Fucking flame in my direction. Alright, I think that's pretty well burnt. Probably just fucking wash it and throw the rest of it away. Probably take a shot of it, the result of its flame. Yeah, look at that. This is also kind of proof to show that I wasn't bullshitting when I was doing that I actually did get a letter. A fun fact too was in the process of me making this video, they sent me another letter, and it's probably almost exactly the same. The only difference is probably the expiration date, because they're probably curious as to why I've been so silent. This is the fucking reason. I'm tired of this bullshit. I want this fucking shit to stop. You know, I want it on the stopping on the left, and I want it on the right too, because inevitably the right is going to do the same fucking things that the left are doing right now. Inevitably. Like, if Trump gets his fucking re-election, if he gets his, you know, second term, which probably be likely, considering how crazy the fucking Democrats are being right now. But who knows, he might even get impeached considering the current span of the 100 days. But, you know, if he does get a second term, I'm pretty sure the Republicans are going to be kind of acting a little bit loony, but whatever. Well, I think we can call it a day here. This fucking video is going to be almost 40 minutes long after I stop this. So, I'll see you all on the next video I make.